So welcome to the Launching Academy podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest, Rebecca. The things that you do, they are just amazing. So first, she's a mindset coach. She's a business coach. She's a wealth activation coach. So she has all these strategies to make you thrive in your business, starting from your mindset with organic strategies. And she's here to give us a lot of insights. So welcome, Rebecca. Thank you so much for coming here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited.
And I actually forgot to say you're also a single mom of five children, aren't you?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, five children.
I'm so excited to interview you. I mean, you run a business, you have 5 children. I know you had worked in other businesses before. So
I have lots of business interests actually, and that's part of kind of my ethos as a coach. It's all about leveraging what you have. So not only do I have my own businesses, I also invest in others as well. So so thank you so much for that introduction. So I am Rebecca Barr, aka the Femalepreneur Coach, for anybody that's looking for me online. I work specifically with women in business that are super ambitious, ready to get to the next level of success, whatever that looks like for them. So for some of us it's money, for some of us it's time, for some of it's more joy, and I think so I'm a money mindset, like say, wealth activator and business coach. But typically what I would say is what makes me different is obviously I started as an entrepreneur, so I have a genuine passion for business and for the psychology of sales and consumer trends and that sort of thing. So I don't ever teach one size fits all approach to any of my clients. It's all about authentic, aligned, soul led like marketing strategies, so that feel really, really good for my clients, so that they can create businesses that are sustainable. So I'm all about the long term and the long term approach in business.
I love it. So last time we spoke, you were talking a little bit about this alignment, the importance of doing that, the importance of bringing your uniqueness to the business. Do you want to go a little bit and dive?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think even from a practical sense right now, the personal development space is very saturated. Audiences can be quite burnt out because a lot of people went through the pandemic. We had a lot of time on our hands. We deep dove into everything, every membership course, program, did some mindset work. And then obviously, life moved on. And what I have found in terms of a trend is that the typical cookie cutter, one size fits all, it's only my system or nothing, that doesn't work anymore. It doesn't convert. People are looking for more genuine connections. They're looking for more substance. They're looking for more alignment to the people that they're working with. They're becoming more discerning. So I'm finding that actually what is your biggest USP right now will actually get you much further in business, and that's you. It's all of the parts of you that make you unique, that give you a genuine connection to your work, that is actually going to be your superpower in business. So that's what I love to do, is to kind of uncover that with my clients and really, understand what makes them tick, and then how do we amplify that to call in their dream clients.
And what would you say to someone that, because I hear this a lot in GMs or even with my clients, this difficulty of putting out there who they truly are. So
they truly are.
Yeah. So maybe it's a fear of judgment. Maybe it's thinking that they need to model what other people are doing in order to work. I think this is a huge trap that people go into. They see something and they're like, I'm just gonna copy them, and then they are not.
Yeah, so, absolutely. And I know that success does leave clues. Tony Robbins will tell you that. So I think there's definitely inspiration that can be taken from people that are already where you want to be, as long as you are taking it as inspiration and not a reason to feel bad about yourself. But I think when we are worried about, being our true authentic self and showing up with genuinely what we've got to say and our unique perspective, I think it's a symptom of a limiting belief. But also I'm super spiritual. So as women, so my background is in hypnotherapy, timeline techniques, EFT, NLP. So I have a really great grounding when I work with clients in terms of like mindset, but also epigenetics and how ancestrally we can hold trauma and wounds from from our family, our lineage, but also as women, we are already predispositioned, kind of sending me off on down a rabbit hole now, but I love to speak about this. But as a collective, we are already predispositioned to have, we have a greater sense of risk. That's how our brain works. Than men. So we are automatically going to come with a whole set of inhibitions and limiting beliefs around whether it is safe for us to speak our truth. We also have ancestral wounds. So obviously, if you think about it as women, anybody that's read The Witch's Wound will know that through every point in history, women have been persecuted for speaking their truth. So, and I think there's a lot of comfort in that, because when you understand that it's okay, if you then add on societal conditioning of what is okay for a woman to be, we're here to be mothers, to be quiet, to be good girls, to do what we're told, to not take up very much space. You can understand why, when you're sitting there thinking, oh God, why can't I just be like that person? Why can't I be bold, be brave, be outspoken? You can see why actually it's okay. Your brain is actually doing what it's supposed to do. It's giving you resistance to that because it's trying to keep you safe. Then you can kind of have compassion towards it. You can have grace towards yourself and understanding that you're not broken. You're not any less than all the other people that seem to have it figured out and fixed. You're just at the start of that journey. And it's a really beautiful place to be, because then you can do the work to really step into your power.
Exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. And talking about the ancestrals and being a mom and all of that, how are you juggling everything? What are the tips that you can give?
I think the thing for me, first of all, that I really wrestled with as a mum was the mum guilt of needing to work. So years ago, I started my career in corporate. So, and I'm sure that a lot of women actually listening would have done that before, because my experience of working with women in business is that a lot of them started in corporate. They took the safe route. They did what their parents told them they should do. They went out, maybe stayed in education, got a career, took the safe path, and then kind of their souls started to kind of like either expand and tell them that they were meant for more, or maybe actually circumstances, which is what happened with me, dictated that suddenly that corporate mold where they're having to ask people for time off and only getting so much, having to work Monday to Friday, no flexibility around their hours, actually didn't work for them anymore. And that's basically what happened for me. So I started in corporate. My main caregiver at the time was my mum. So I was a single parent even then, with 3 children at the time, all very young, none of them at school yet. She looked after them at home for me. And then I went to drop the kids off one day and she'd actually had a stroke. So it was very instant, very sudden, completely outside of my control. And obviously when I went to my boss, they were like, well, it's not our problem. This was back in the day before COVID, where flexible working, home working just wasn't an option. So obviously for me, I then had to go all in on my business. It was something that I'd kind of, had been stirring within me, feeling like, I'm getting to a certain age. I'm sure that there must be more to life. I don't want to have to keep feeling bad, asking people for time off with my kids. So I'd already started to venture into side hustles and businesses, but not really fully committing. And when the universe said, we've got something better for you, and literally took away all of my safety nets, I had to throw myself into it. So, but that for me as a mother felt really risky, and I really had to deal with a lot of guilt about, am I being irresponsible? Am I harming my children? Because as much as I thought I was going to get loads of time freedom, I actually didn't. I actually ended up working twice as hard, weekends, evenings, to get my business off the ground. And then that was like a whole nother layer of guilt. And then it's just, with every new level of success comes a new devil. But practically now, and I think I probably spent the first 5 years of business running my business like it was a full-time job. So I was very much, at the mercy of any clients that walked through the door. I took every offer that came my way. I was in a business that still had a business model that just did not work for me at home. Was very much prescribed to the hustle and grind mentality, and had a lot of issues around deserving and worthy. being worthy of wealth. So I was unintentionally making my business harder than it needed to be. I didn't feel like I could say no. I felt like I had to be grateful, and it just didn't work for me. So I had a bit of a meltdown actually, where it was just, I had another 2 children come into the mix as well. I had a relationship that broke down, and I just thought, enough. Like, I think every business owner, like they always say, the breakdown before the breakthrough has to get to a point where they literally say, like, fuck this shit. Like, literally everybody needs that moment before they truly step into their power. So if anybody is feeling like that right now, like they are completely overwhelmed and running around in circles, like, it's okay. Know that something really great is coming for you. And that's what happened for me. So I had that moment where I just thought, if this is life, this is not for me. Like, this is just not how I wanted it to be, and not why I left corporate. So I really used that process of growth to start putting in boundaries in my business. So I don't work evenings, I don't work weekends, I'm available for school holidays, I don't work with certain clients that I think are going to drain me energetically. I only work with businesses that I'm really genuinely excited, that add fuel to me. Because, and I think that's really important as well. So it's about knowing, human design is something that I'm really passionate about. I'm a manifestor generator. So I recharge my own battery by working with people that I'm really excited about. So it doesn't even feel like work. So actually getting on calls like this, I'm going to leave now really high vibe for the rest of the day. So it doesn't even feel like work. And that's what I encourage my clients to do, is to be really true to yourself. What do you want to do? And half the time when I start working with people, they're like, well, I want to do this, this, and this. But they actually don't. They're just doing what they think they should be doing, because that's what everybody else is doing. And I'm like, well, it becomes a detractor then, rather than something that's actually going to enhance your life.
You start to sabotage your success because you don't want that.
Yeah.
So the same thing with like launches and evergreens. Some people, they're like, okay, so I'm going to do launch. And then I'm like, I feel that the launch is it's just not the right strategy for them, because they are an introvert, because they don't like to be around so many people. They try push, and then suddenly they change the strategy and starts to flow again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing, as you mentioned earlier, like, how do people start stepping into that? Well, even if you don't want to do it for yourself, you're actually leaving money on the table right now by being inauthentic. Not only will people not be, they will feel that at an unconscious level, that you're not showing up with your best energy. But equally, like, that's the difference, isn't it? When you are just absolutely obsessed with what you're doing, you've got a business that you just absolutely love to wake up to in the morning, that is infectious, and that will lead to more inspired actions, better energy behind what you're doing, and you will get more conversions.
And Rebecca, like, how did you feel, or and also how did you overcome these feelings when you said enough?
Yeah. How did I go through that process?
I mean, when I said enough, it was exciting, but it was also scary. So what happened, and what motivated you internally to say, yeah, I had enough and I'm going to take action towards that decision?
So it kind of gives me chills actually thinking about it. So basically, I had one of my businesses at the time. Coaching for me was an addition, because it's just something I fell very naturally into. So this was probably like 4 years ago now. So my son just had his 4th birthday. So that's why it's like, oh, it's giving me chills. Because what happened was, I had a physical in-person business, which was a barbershop, actually, super lucrative, really, really great. But it had just become such a drain on me mentally, because I'd realized that I am not a person that can work 7 days a week and be on all the time. And I'd had a really difficult pregnancy, and I just felt like something's coming. Like, I'd started to get more and more resistance to my business. I started resenting my staff. I didn't want to turn up. And it got to the point where my moment was, I had the baby and I was sitting in the hospital, and my business partner was my ex-partner at the time, and he was hassling me to get discharged because he needed me to go into the shop to go and deal with the situation with my staff. So he's literally like, can't you phone the doctors? Can't you get them? We need you at the shop. Like, you've got to hurry up. I'm like, I literally just had a baby 8 hours ago. And this is the amount of pressure that I am living under right now to get back to work. And I just literally sat there with the baby, and it literally makes me emotional now, because I haven't really shared this story, but because I was embarrassed that this is how my business has consumed my life. And I I'm not in control of anything. I'm not empowered in any way in my own business. It's almost become like another job that I can't leave behind. And I had the baby, obviously left, went to I just remember crying with him on the bed thinking, what the hell have I brought you into? Like, this is another baby that I'm not going to get any time with. And I'm not going to, what am I showing him? And obviously, not in a great relationship, but this is kind of the pressure that my partner's putting on me. And I just kind of made that mental like promise to him that enough, like, this is not happening. I'm not doing this again with another child that I have to leave behind. And I really I went to work, did the thing that I needed to do, and then I said to my partner, this is it, like, I'm leaving and I have to like start withdrawing from the business. This is just not me, or I won't be here. And that was the level that it got to for my children. Like, I can't carry on like this, nor do I want to, nor is this living. So that, for me, admittedly, like, I didn't have the luxury of being able to remove myself from the situation, really, take time and do a deep dive, because every day, like, the business is still going every day, my kids still need me. So it was definitely a slower process than it needed to be, but mentally I started disentangling myself from all of my commitments. I started putting boundaries in place and really doing the work as to how did I get here, where I felt so undeserving and so unworthy that I have allowed people to essentially bully me into a corner, and this has become my life. So it was definitely dark. There was definitely a period of darkness going through that, like, dark night of my soul as to how I'd got to where I had, but through that came something so beautiful. So I'm so grateful for that time.
Wow.
And by the time I got to my next baby, I hardly worked at all. Now I'm like a lady of leisure.
That's amazing. I'm vibrating here with your story. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for asking me that question, Manuela, because I have to say, no one's ever asked me that, and I've never really thought about it. I think it was like a trauma that I kind of locked away in a box. And that's the beauty of like being around like incredible women like yourself. Like, every day is a new realization. It's a new level of awareness and awakening. So I'm really grateful for that, because I'm going to be pondering on that later. And like, yeah, that's probably the time. Yeah, thank you.
It's interesting because you are a mom. I'm a mom, and when you were describing that, situation with your baby, I was there with you, and I was feeling that and saying, yeah, every time that I'm gonna say this is enough. I know that my children are involved somehow. I know that I'm thinking about them. And I feel that having a business, benefiting other people, not giving up on yourself, not giving up on your business, being in aligned is something so much bigger than we think it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really think I say, and I don't mean to say this lightly, but I genuinely think that, I know we're not quite the same age, you're a bit younger than me, but I feel like we are the generation right now, our collective, like all of the women in their 30s, 40s, starting to live life on their own terms. We are the generation that gets to change the game for our daughters. Like, and literally, I don't take that lightly. My daughters will never have to do what I've had to do to get to where I've got to in life. Like, even in my corporate jobs, the shit that I put up with, like the sexism, the lewd comments, the like just continually being kept down, the glass ceiling. They will never know that, because they have got already, my daughters are a little bit older now probably than yours, but I've got one that is just about to be 12, I've got one that's 9, and the sass, the confidence, like just the self-awareness,
yes,
I never had at this age. It's so exciting to me.
I know. Like, I remember when I was younger, I wasn't comfortable with my body. I didn't like myself, even like super young. And my children, they go in front of the mirror and they are like, "You are so beautiful." Like,
Yes.
I love you. And they are confident. They go, they do things. Isis wants to open her shop of lemonade. And,
yes.
and it's like, it's such a gift that we are giving to them just by allowing ourselves to be true to ourselves.
Absolutely. And the most important thing on that, though, that I always like to say is that monkey see, monkey do. So essentially, children don't learn by being told. So this work really has to start with us, because as much as I can tell my daughters every day, you're so beautiful, you're amazing, you can have anything. If I am not emulating that, and I am not physically, embodying that and showing them that, they won't be able to take the learnings. It really won't make any difference. And we all know as parents, you can tell your kids 100 things, like 100 times a day, and they are not listening, but they are always watching. And from an NLP perspective, obviously as a mindset coach, I understand that, because children learn through observation. So their brain, when they come into this world, they're a sponge up to the age of 7. They are in a rapid period of learning because they need to know how to survive in this world. So their survival instincts are massive. They are looking at, how can I fit in with my tribe? How can I be emulating the behaviors of my parents and my main caregivers? Because that represents connection and it represents safety. So I've got clients as well that are like, oh, I'm really starting to worry because I can see my teenage daughters coming up behind me and they're very insecure and they're, on social media. And I'm like, but how are you talking to yourself at home? They're like, oh, well, I've always had issues with my weight and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, because social media, actually, we can blame social media as much as we want, but it actually starts with our parents. They, to our children, we are the center of everything to them. And don't underestimate the value that you have as a parent to your daughters and your children. So yes, social media will be impacting them as they get older, but it's all about their younger years. You are the center of their universe right now. So if you are not speaking to yourself kindly, if you are not setting boundaries and, going after your own dreams, they will not do it either. And that's the sad thing. We have to be the change that we want to see.
Exactly. And Rebecca, can you share with us, in your current business, one challenge that you can remember that you faced? It could be recently, it could be in the beginning. And how did you overcome that?
I think there's challenges all the time, because things are constantly moving. Like the collective is changing, trends, apps, like things are always moving in business. That's a reality. It's a given. It's part of the journey. And as a business owner, the greatest thing that you can do is take out your ego as it comes to business and make it about you. So that's the greatest lesson that I've had to learn as I've moved into more spiritual practices and really started embodying that CEO for myself, is to remove my ego from any situation. So if there is, and approach my business with a sense of curiosity. So rather than thinking, what am I doing wrong? It's like, okay, there's something here that needs to be fixed. Maybe a piece of the puzzle that's missing, maybe a tweak to my strategy. But everything I do in business is almost like a mad scientist. I'm like, what do I need to do different right now to make this work better? Is it the offer? Is it messaging? Is it me? Is it as in my energy? Is it the price point? I'm always just looking at it at a sense of curiosity. But I've definitely had launches that haven't worked out that I thought will be amazing, and then when I've gone back, I'm no. That's, I see that, I wear that with a badge of honor, because that means that's you earning your stripes as an entrepreneur. If you look at all of the greats, like Richard Branson, Simon Cowell, they have had astronomical failures. And I'm just reading actually Rich Dad Poor Dad at the moment, and he mentions about the difference in mindset between winners and losers, essentially. And the winners are the ones that don't make their losses about them at all. It's just something that they really ride the coattail of that, because they know that the next thing is going to be a win, because they're going to take learnings, and they're going to ascend and evolve and come back better than ever. So I celebrate it. I celebrate all of my failures. So I'm like, okay, that's the universe telling me I'm on the wrong track. What do I need to do now differently that's going to give me a better conversion?
Yeah. And two things I want to point out in here. The first one is I recently watched TED Talking in my psychology degree. And this woman was saying, change the why for the what. And I noticed in your communication right now how much you say, what can I do different? What can I do? What can I do in this area? What can I do in that area? And it's interesting that it's not a why. Because when you have a problem and you're like, why this is happening to me? Why one more time? Why? You're in this spiral going down. And when you ask the what, you're opening yourself to ideas and possibilities. So it was interesting to hear you saying that. Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, and I can absolutely understand how that works, because when you have a limiter, your brain will never make you a liar. Your subconscious brain will never make you a liar. So whenever you have those questions, especially when you have limiting beliefs, like you say, if it's but there's connection in that. So that's why people always love to moan about petrol prices, the economy, COVID, because there's connection in that. If you moan about it, I'll moan about it too. We're now connected. So it's understanding that sometimes there's a secondary gain in having a limiting belief and being stuck, because then we don't have to take full ownership, then we don't have to face judgment if we actually move past it and get outside of it. But equally, when you say like, oh my god, why does this keep happening to me, all your brain is going to do is like mentally like run through, yeah, you're right, because this time it happened, this time it happened, this time it happened, and it's just going to continue to reinforce that belief that, yeah, you're right, you're rubbish, this one time this happened, and da-da-da-da. If instead, like you say, you open your brain up to creative possibilities and you remove it yourself from that equation, so it's not about you, it's just about what needs to change, then literally that's where you just evoke a whole different thought response, like different solutions are available to you. It's when the magic happens.
Exactly. And I think you pointed out so many interesting things here, which again, if you ask the what, you are removing your ego from the situation.
Yeah.
It's the why. It's like, I'm going to hold on to this why, and because it's safe, I know it. But when you ask what, you are opening yourself, and your ego has to be a little bit more silenced so you can go and explore what you can do differently. And if you're so attached to, I'm going this way and I cannot do anything differently, it will be hard to change and do something else that will potentially work on your business, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think we all have like the potential of like £1 million business in each of us, particularly women, because we're so in tune to our intuition. That's our superpower. But you have to open yourself up to receive those downloads. And that only comes from asking those questions, like, what do I need to do differently? What do I need to know right now? What do I need to focus on? And when you ask yourself those questions, an answer will come back if you're listening. Like, you always know the right answer, but you've just got to open yourself up to receive it. And typically that's when something so unique, so different, so innovative, so exciting will come up. That will be the thing for your business that really quantum leaps your success, because no one else has thought about it. Like, no one else has brought that to the industry or the table or the market. And equally, you'll be so aligned to whatever it is, even if it isn't something brand new, because it's come from you, from your soul. You'll be so aligned to it that people will just be drawn to that energy. It'll be infectious.
Yes. And I tell people, I show them, for example, big experts that we work in here, and I'm like, I want you to see what's in common with them. They all speak their truth. They all have a strong community. They all position themselves. That's what people want. People look at us when we are producing a content, when we are selling something. They look at us and they think, this person is giving me space to express something. So if you're working with relationship, they are like, this person is giving me space to work on my relationship. But if you're not giving your space to yourself and being true to yourself in alignment with yourself, you're not giving space. So then the connection doesn't work.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people just completely bypass this deep dive mindset work in business because they think that strategy will get them there. But the reality is, people respond to authority at an unconscious level. They respond to energy, they respond to authority. We're always looking for like the designated adult in the room. Even now, even with children, I'm always like, there must be someone more responsible than me in this room. I'm the only adult here. Because that represents safety to our unconscious mind. So we will naturally be drawn to people that are super sure of themselves and so in their power and really owning their space and really confident in their results. And that comes from doing the deep dive work. So if you are somebody right now who's like, I don't have time to do this, or, oh, it's not for me, like, you will absolutely be leaving money on the table if you don't. Like, any strategy in the world is not going to convert for somebody who cannot sell with conviction and confidence. So you have to do it. It's a non-negotiable as a business owner.
Yes, totally. I totally agree. And if you could give 5 tips to someone that is trying to scale their business to multiple 6 and 7 figures, what would you say to them?
I'm all about the path to least resistance. So whatever feels good to you right now, do more of that. So typically when I work with clients, they're like, I'll say, what's worked for you previously? And they're like, oh, but this and this. But to get to the next level, I've obviously need like a fresh strategy, and sometimes you don't. So I would say whatever feels good, i.e. like if video is your thing, do more video. Add that into your nurture sequences and your lead magnets. If you like to write blog posts, email marketing, like build your email list. So it's finding what works for you and then finding ways to leverage that. So you're only ever staying in your happy place in business. You absolutely have to work on your money mindset, because with every new level of income comes a new sabotaging behavior and thought patterns. So you absolutely have to work on that. I'm all about collaboration. So building your business in the most joyful way for me, and the quickest and smartest way is around collaborations, and having a community of people and network. What else would I say? I think it's probably really those things. It's about doing what you really love and doing more of that, finding ways to leverage it, working on your money mindset, and building your business through collaborations, I think is just the funnest way to do it. But certainly just, being really sure of who it is that you are and what you bring to the table, and owning that, and not feeling the need to reinvent the wheel, to add 100 different products and services to your business, or be like anybody else, because that is the quickest way to dissipate the energy from your business. And it's all about energy for me.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And I'm gonna leave one last question to someone that might be listening to us. From this podcast, I invite you to write down one action that you're gonna implement, because we all listen to so many things during the day. But writing down what we're gonna implement from what we heard in here will help you a lot. So, absolutely. Rebecca, where can people find you?
Oh, well, if they follow me on Instagram, so the Femalpreneur Coach, I've actually got a really great free resource that is a wealth activation system. So it's basically 3 hypnosises to use throughout the day to really unlock that next level of income for your business. Like I said, money is energy as much as everything else. And if you have any beliefs or energetic blocks around receiving more wealth, whatever you do, it is not going to convert to more money. So that is a really great series of hypnosis audios that are going to help you to reprogram your beliefs around money, let you know that it's safe to receive, to keep you in a really high vibrational state to attract more wealth. I would really love them to come and download that, because that's something I use with even my high ticket clients that are moving from those 6 figures to 7. They still do that work with me. It's exactly the same hypnosis audios that you will be listening to as well.
I love it. Do you think we can put in the
show notes
description?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for coming. I learned so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And we'll see you guys next week with another episode.